Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 236, and this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. I go to my least favorite to my best pick of the week, so let's get started. And number 21 for me this week was Spider-Man issue 239. I thought it was 236, the same as the episode number, but no, it's 239. And with this issue, I just haven't really been feeling the impact that I feel like I should be with this last arc for Brian Michael Bendis on Miles Morales. I just haven't been connecting to the Sinister Six, and honestly been tired of the Aaron-Miles dynamic. I just feel like the pacing has been really off, and it just feels kind of bloated out at this point where you don't really care about the final confrontation between Miles and his uncle. And also the artwork feels very simplistic, just kind of a forgettable comic, which it really shouldn't be for one of the last stories Bendis will be telling at Marvel. So I gave this one 2 stars, and that was my least favorite in number 21 this week. So moving on to number 20, which might just be because I haven't really read much New Mutants before this book, but number 20 is New Mutants Dead Souls issue 2. So it might just be because of a fandom thing. I, again, obviously know there's a big cult following for this series, and I like Illyana and Boom Boom and some of the other characters here, mostly Illyana, but yeah, I haven't been able to get into the story. I just feel like I haven't been able to connect with the team's chemistry, or just the overall horror feel they're trying to go with this because of the movie. So I don't know how long I'll stick with this book. I think it is a mini-series, like 5 issues, but next issue kind of looks entertaining because they are flying coach, and that could bring for some fun character dynamics for the next issue, but I don't know if I'll stick around for that one. I don't know if this is really my taste. Even the artwork is so dark, and again, just fitting that tone more of the movie series, and I just haven't been able to really get into it. So I'm going to give this one 2 stars, and that was number 20. Moving on to number 19, which is Superman, issue 44. And Superman, just not really into the Bizarro storyline. I just feel like it's been going on for way too many issues, just kind of building up to us going into Bendis taking over Superman. And there are some fun stuff, though. I like that Bizarro's not like a true villain here. I thought that was good, but I don't know if it really kept me entertained enough to say, ooh, you must buy this issue. It really depends on your fandom of Bizarro and Superman if you should pick this up, but if you're not a huge Bizarro fan, I feel like this is an arc that's easily skippable. So I'm going to give this one 3 stars, and that was Superman issue 44. Alright, so moving on to number 18, a new Image book, Isola, issue 1, and I was actually really excited for this book because I am a fan of the creative team. It's the same creative team of Gotham Academy, and from interviews I've heard that this creative team has been planning this story for a long time because they've been friends for a really long time, since childhood. So I was excited about that, but when I started reading it, it looked like more of a fantasy book, and I did not know that going in, and I'm not a huge fantasy fan, and also it's a story that jumps in straight away. So it's this woman who's protecting this god-like creature, or at least king creature, who's like a tiger now, and they're trying to find Isola, which is a place. And for me, I don't love the whole journey stuff, like this type of story, and again, more magical aspects, so I think it's more of an acquired taste for this one. But I did like the artwork a lot, and you might really enjoy that you're thrown right into the story. For me, I didn't feel as connected to the characters because of it, but I did think it was a bold move to do that for a first issue. So that was number 18, and I gave that 3 stars. Now moving on to number 17, which is Deathstroke issue 30, and this is the mini-series within a series, because it's the Batman versus Deathstroke team up, so I guess they're going to call it Deathstroke versus Batman for the whole arc, and I know it's like kind of like a mini-series within its own series, that they didn't actually make a mini-series, but it totally could stand as a mini-series. And for me, I definitely like the father dynamic, because we see that Talia's connected here, and that somebody is looking at the DNA of Damian's father, and obviously we know that Bruce Wayne is Damian's father, but someone's playing, saying that Deathstroke is, so interesting stuff there. But for me, I always like kind of the family dynamic between Deathstroke. That's where I like the book the most, but it is cool to see these, obviously, not, I guess, somewhat similar characters with different morals team up with each other. So I gave this 3 stars. I do feel like this would have been a better miniseries, and I would have rather the other Deathstroke story continue, because it does feel a little jarring after you read this. It's like, oh, well, what's going on, you know, previously? It feels like a big jump, and you're gonna have to wait a while for the other Deathstroke story. But I guess for sales-wise, they combine them together. So I'm gonna give this 3 stars, though. Moving on to number 16, which is Long Lost, issue 5. And Long Lost here, the moment I really liked the most was definitely between the sisters. I like that we get to see our main character's younger sister say, hey, you know, I'm dislike that you're not connecting with me, and I feel alone in this. And I think that was definitely the most powerful moment. And also, I love the artwork here. But I will say it kind of delves into more of the mythology aspect, and for me, the pacing was a little off because of that. At least the stuff I connected to more was the 2 main characters, and I want to see more of them. But it's nice that we are learning more about the world as well here, and learning more about our main character's family. So Long Lost issue 5 for me gets 3 stars. So moving on to number 15, which this is a bit higher than usual, and that is Avengers issue 688. And I liked the Wasp's monologue here, where she's like, oh, you know, I remember these things, but now I know it's fake with the Voyager. And I like that the Voyager is trying to, like, be good, I guess, now, and trying to team up with the Avengers. And even the small moment with Hulk, him actually dealing with dying and not actually dying and wanting to die in some ways because of the Hulk. I thought that was a really cool scene. I think this is some of the best character beats with the series now as we progress to the ending of it. And also the artwork has always been strong for this series. So overall, probably one of my favorites of the story arc, and I gave this 3.5 stars. Now, moving on to number 14, which is Betty and Veronica, Vixens, issue 5, which I really like this cover. There's a lot of cool covers this week, but with this one, we get to see Cheryl join the crew, and obviously the Vixens are a bit hesitant of this, and we get to see the Vixens saving the day a bit more with this book, and that getting them into trouble with the end, where Veronica's father wants to find out who are the people that have gotten, what's the other gang called? Forget their names. The Serpents. He wants to know, like, who's this gang that got the Serpents out. So that's going to bring for some interesting drama, knowing that Veronica is part of this biker gang. And I like seeing a bit more about Tony's life and her saving her girlfriend and the other Vixens trying to help out. The only reason this is a little lower, it's not my favorite art style, so I definitely think it fits for, like, the mix of Grease with trying to mix with, like, a modern tone. Like, I like that, but sometimes I feel like I want a little bit more emotion coming out of it. It feels a bit light, the artwork, so it's not my style, but I definitely understand the style and why they would choose this for this series. So I'm going to give this 3.5 stars, though. A lot of cool stories, and overall, just it's a fun mix of things and fun mix of genres with Betty and Veronica Vixens. Now moving on to number 13, which is X-Men Gold, issue 25. $4.99 for this book, but it is extra size. And I was like, why is this extra size? Oh, we're up to issue 25 already. So that's the reason. And most of it is just a battle. It's a battle against this godlike creature. And I like that as mostly the B team and C team and all the other X-Men, as the prime X-Men are in jail trying to fight this monster, and then, you know, them trying to get them out of jail. I thought that was cool. It's a cool action issue. There's not a lot of story until the last page, where we find out someone's trying to control Colossus to kill the mutants. I thought that was an interesting twist as we get into the wedding. And obviously Colossus and Kitty is going to get a spotlight on their character. So, also artwork at first I thought was a little rushed at times, some of the facial expressions, but got a lot stronger as the issue went on, and like here, I thought the facial expressions were really good. So overall, I would say solid artwork for a more action-driven issue. So I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. Still a little pricey for what it was, but if you like to have some interesting action, I think you'll like this issue. So moving on to number 12, which is Motor Crush, issue 11, which is the ending of the second arc, so I guess we're gonna have to wait a while. But damn, this was a good issue. I like that it brings our main character, Domino. She is now in the forefront again. People know that she's alive. And also we get to see her and her girlfriend make up, so I like that. Even though I felt like it was a little rushed with the other girlfriend that she had. It's like, I'll go to her. And I'm like, I like that that was the ending result, but I thought that was a little rushed. But it was a good action issue. It gave us a little less story momentum, I guess ironically, until the end of the issue, where we do get a nice cliffhanger finding out that our main character is like a clone. I thought that was pretty cool, and it's like, oh, we have to wait. But yeah, I thought it had a good mix of stuff in this issue. I love Babstar's artwork. I love kind of like the cutesiness of the artwork, but still having some really awesome action, I guess gruesome scenes at the same time, and some good racing scenes finally. It's been a while since we've actually seen racing in this book, so I give this one 3.5 stars. Now moving on to number 11, which is Rogue and Gambit issue 4. I will say if I was more dedicated to this relationship, I think this would be a lot higher, because you could tell how much love is put into this book through the artwork and through the writing. And for me, I'm just not as connected to these two characters, but damn, it's still a fun ride. We get to see them switching bodies, and the artwork is so good. I mean, just the way the proportions are over here, it's just so electrifying, the artwork. Really like it. As we get to see these characters switching bodies, and it's not confusing at all, which I think is a feat that is worth recognizing. So yeah, it's an action-packed issue. That's what it is. It's just fully action, but you also get to see a lot of the romance here as well. So I gave this 3.5 stars, just because, again, I'm not as connected to Rogue and Gambit, but totally think if you're a fan of these characters, you will love this issue. So I'm gonna give this one 3.5 stars, and it's a really cool dynamic issue for a penultimate issue for Rogue and Gambit. Alright, moving on to number 10, which is Injustice 2, issue 23. Another action-driven issue. This week there's a lot of action. But I love a lot of panels here. Like there's a moment where we get to see like the new Trinity, Wonder Woman teaming up with Superboy and Batman. I thought that was such a cool panel. Almost made my panel of the week for our top 5 panels that I've been picking out. And I really like the ending where we get to finally find out who this new Batman is. I thought that was the best story progression. And we find out that it is Jason, so that's gonna be cool to see play out. And the artwork is just so good and detailed. I just love the style here, especially again for an issue that is more action oriented than anything. But there's also some like just fun moments of like Green Arrow having a nuke arrow, and then Black Canary saying, "You had that in our house with our child." So there's just those small moments that Tom Taylor always nails with Injustice and anything he writes. So I'm gonna give this 3.5 stars. And that is number 10, I believe. Alright, moving on to number 9, which is Betrothed, issue 2. And this focuses a little bit more on the fantastical element of our characters, but I like that it goes back to the school, it grounds it, and them trying to figure out, like, what are we supposed to do? Like, are we supposed to have sex and save the world, you know? I thought that was a lot of fun, and we get to see, you know, how their lives are kind of planted here. Their aunt and uncle is kind of part of this other world as well, and it looks like their friends are from school are going to be brought into this other world as well, which could be a lot of fun. So I love the dynamic and the kind of the tug-of-war we're playing with the two worlds. I love that feeling with this book. So, and also the artwork is really good. I think it matches the fantastical elements, and then once it goes back to the school, it fits that as well. It's just really cool to see these two worlds colliding, and that really makes this book. So I'm going to give this 4 stars, and definitely pick this one up. I've been enjoying it. Moving on to number 8, which is Batman White Knight issue 7, and this was a really good penultimate issue where we get to see the Joker, Jack, turn into the Joker again, and having to team up with Batman. But I really like a lot of small moments here, like really giving the recognition that's deserved to Harley. There's a lot of lines here about Harley Quinn and that she does deserve a lot of credit at times, and I think both Batman and Joker do give her credit where it's due in this issue, so I like that. And then also Batman maybe taking off the mask in the end, because I really love the scene between Joker and Batman where Jack describes what happened with Jason and exactly why he killed Jason and why Jason never came back to Batman when he didn't die. I thought that was such a really cool telling of these characters. And that's something I love about this series, is that it questions what we know about the Batman themes and the Batman mythos, like taking off the mask and teaming up with Joker, things that you don't tend to see but would be really awesome to see. And also, focusing on family. You know, I think that's something that Batman tends to forget to do recently, although I would say Detective Comics does a good job of bringing the Bat family into focus, but I always love seeing the family and how important that is to Batman, and you really see it here, where I love that moment where he says, you know, if I die, I want to give a note and say I didn't wear the mask because of my parents and my trauma because of my parents, but I wore it that way you didn't have to wear a mask and you would have a better Gotham, and he's talking to both Dick and Barbara to that, and I really love that scene. And there's just so many cool small scenes that make up this really interesting penultimate issue. Such a cool world that Murphy has built, and even, you know, his pencils obviously work so well with this kind of darker story, but it's just so character driven and really brings out some of the really interesting parts of all of the Bat family's characteristics. So I'm gonna give this 4 stars and really excited to see what the finale is gonna bring us. And most of the time when they extend series, it's like, another issue, looks like they're just like expanding this just for money, and I do not feel that way with White Knight. Like, I want even more issues of this book, and that's a rarity when they expand miniseries. Alright, well, moving on to number 7, which is Tinseltown, issue 1, and this is from Alterna Comics. I have not bought anything from them, but definitely want to support them, because they are an indie comic book company, and this one looked interesting from when I was looking at it. I believe this is part of their newspaper line, but I read it digitally, so I did not get to the newspaper version yet. I think my comic store will have it next week, but they're special ordering that, and Betrothed, because I usually get that physically as well. But anyways, this is a book about this woman from, she was born like late 1800s, so now it's like early 1900s, and her father died being a police officer, and her mother pretty much cried herself to sleep every night and ignored our main character, and you know, all her life all she wanted to be is a police officer, but because of the times, no one really gave her that chance, and she hated being the secretary. She just wanted to do what her father did, and we get to see, in the end, she finally has an opportunity to do so, and it ends up being like her being an actress in Hollywood, or acting to be like a police officer, but finally in the end she has an opportunity to actually save the day. It's a really interesting period to look at, especially looking at women's roles in this time period as a police officer. I thought it was a really intriguing thing that hasn't really been touched upon enough. So I really like this. I gave it 4 stars. Definitely hooked me. Liked the character, liked the world. So I gave that, like I said, 4 stars. And that was my number 7 pick. Moving on to number 6, which is Snotgirl, issue 10. This is so hard. There's so many good books this week, but I did make my number 6, and that was mostly because the ending felt a little rushed. I was like, oh, I wanted more, especially because with Snotgirl, there's always such a big hiatus. You don't know when it's going to return. So I was like, oh, I kind of wish there was a stronger ending there that I was like, oh my god, I want even more. But damn, this story was so good, and it taps into exactly what I love about this book, where first of all, it challenges social media and commentates on it, but you just don't know who Lottie is. You don't know what's going on in her mind, except the small hints we get. And here, Lottie ends up hanging out with Cool Girl. Cool Girl puts mushrooms in their tea, so she's totally high during this I guess, you know, photography thing. I don't know, for some reason I can't think of the word. But yeah, so she's totally high, and she really releases her feelings to Cool Girl, and we see that throughout the whole issue, where she's like, kind of talks about having a crush on her without saying it, and then they kiss, and also says, oh yeah, we had that date once. So she's like totally delusional in a lot of ways. And what's cool about this book is that you don't really know who Cool Girl is, you don't know if she exists, you just don't know what's actually going on in this book because Lottie is such an unreliable narrator. But it's cool to see a little bit more of Lottie's feelings here and why she feels the way she does towards Cool Girl. And I think she's a bit in denial about her sexuality as well, because earlier in the issue you have a conversation about her ex-boyfriend and this cop that likes her, and then she's just kind of totally attracted to Cool Girl. So I thought that was a really interesting way to show that. And then even her interactions with her other friends now that she's becoming a bit more friendly with Norm Girl, and Norm Girl's trying to protect her. And then you have this murder mystery surrounded this. Is Cool Girl related to the girl that died? And when I say related, like, did she kill people in the past? Like, we don't know. There's ghosts in this issue. It's, like, crazy. And I love that this book is so unpredictable, and you just keep questioning the world and its characters. I just find that so intriguing. So, Snotgirl, issue 10 is such an underrated book. Definitely pick this one up. And I gave that 4 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Batman issue 44, and I did get both covers for this. I don't have it in this video because I put it to the side, but I had to get both covers because it's cool to see the Batman wedding and the Catwoman wedding dress. But for this video, I had to show the Batwoman, the Catwoman dress. I guess Batwoman would be their ship name, but that'd be kind of weird because there's already a Batwoman. But anyways, going into this issue, it's a simple issue. It's really Catwoman finding her dress. She definitely didn't buy it, which I love that because that's totally Catwoman. But as we get to see her pick out her dress during the middle of the night, which I'm surprised that Batman was sleeping during the middle of the night. That usually does not happen. But we get to see their past Avengers and how their costumes have changed and how they've changed as people. It's such a simple story, but that's why it's so good. I just love the way this is structured, and Tom King is brilliant at that and so poetic with his Batman stories and a lot of the stories he writes. But I just loved how simple this is, but how powerful it was at the same time. So I really liked it. Loved Catwoman picking out her dress, and it was just a cute issue. So I gave Batman issue 44 4 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is All New Wolverine issue 33. Sadly, the last arc we're gonna see Laura as Wolverine, and also Tom Taylor on Laura for an ongoing series, because he's still gonna write Laura and Gabby for X-Men Red, which I'm happy about. But this was an interesting way to end it, because at first I wasn't really excited for Old Woman Laura. I've never read Old Man Logan's. I'm like, you know, how interesting is this gonna be? And Tom Taylor does it again. He just does such a great job here, where in the beginning we get to see Gabby as Wolverine pretty much, and you see that she's gone through stuff. She's not as like funny as she was, you know, she's not a kid anymore, but she still like has that personality that totally grabs you. And then she ends up having dinner with Laura, and Laura says, in such a good page. I love the pacing here. But Laura says, I'm dying. And the reactions with Gabby, just again, the partnership with Tom Taylor and the artist here was just so good. But yeah, so many great emotions, and Gabby's just shocked, and you know, she's talking about her own family. She has kids, and Laura, she was married, so you know that they had a happy life, but Gabby, she doesn't know what to really do with this information. And the last thing Laura wants to do is to get, what's her name? I want to pronounce it right. It starts with a B. Lorona something. Let's see. Definitely gonna pronounce it wrong. Probably already did pronounce it wrong. Let's see. Yeah, Bologna. She wants to get her. That's kind of like her last mission. So she goes to Kamala, who's the president, which was awesome. She goes to Kamala Khan. And then Maria Hill is part of like this secret service. And Maria's going to end up helping Laura trying to find Bologna. And then you find out in the end, Gabby obviously probably doesn't betray Laura, but gets somebody in the picture who she doesn't want to be there as they try to get Bologna Litiveria. So that's cool. I thought it was such a cool issue. I love the character moments here between Gabby and Laura. I like just the sprinkles of cool moments, like Maria Hill being part of the Secret Service, and like I said, Miss Marvel being the president. I thought that was a really cool world, so I liked it, and that's all what it's about. Old Man Logan was very much about his world building, and I think Tom Taylor creates a equally as interesting world. So, and the artwork is so good here. Like I said, it matches so many good dramatic beats here, but even comedic beats of like Laura saying, you know, I'm gonna stab you, and Gabby said, well, I can't get hurt anyways, like it doesn't matter. You know, there's so many fun moments like that. So anyways, All New Wolverine issue 33 gets 4.5 stars. Was really surprised by that issue. Moving on to number 2, and I believe I gave it 4.5. Maybe I gave it 4. No, I gave it 4.5. Alright, moving on to number 3. The Amazing Spider-Man issue 798. All 4 of these were really hard. Well, all 3 of these were really hard to pick. My number 1 was pretty obvious this week, but Amazing Spider-Man, I just love the dynamic between Norman and Peter. This is exactly what I've wanted for so many years, and I'm glad exactly what the story arc says, go down swinging. Dan Slott is going down swinging here, because if you're a classic Spider-Man fan, you're gonna love this, and I do love this. It just like plays with their dynamic so well, but then in the end you have Norman dying, and Peter's like, oh my god, he's dead, and he's like, no, I'm Carnage, and he goes out and says, the only way I'm gonna stop doing this is if you stop being Spider-Man. If you don't, I'm gonna kill MJ, I'm gonna kill Aunt May, I'm gonna kill your dentist, and Peter's trying to come up with a loophole. He says, well, I am the man within Spider-Man. I thought that was such an epic ending. And then just playing with the Daily Bugle, again, it's just a classic moment of Green Goblin going into the Daily Bugle, asking for Spider-Man, but in a new way. You know, this is definitely a different type of Norman Osborn, and you have the Carnage put into all this. You do get a little bit of side story with Flash Thompson in the Osborn family, which I think is going to play out really interestingly with this arc. And the artwork, I think, this is some of Imananan. I can never pronounce his name. Immonen. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Some of his best work for Spider-Man. There are times where I feel like it's a little crowded, but it does work. I think with the action, especially this being an action-heavy issue, an epic issue in that way, it works. So, I'm gonna give this one 4.5 stars, and that is number 3. Alright, moving on to number 2. Number 2 is Marvel 2-in-1, The Thing and the Human Torch, issue 5. If you're a Fantastic Four fan, especially an old school Fantastic Four fan, this is a must-buy series. I love this issue. Just seeing, well, first of all, this panel where the Thing punches this version of Reed Richards was so classic. And look at that, like his face splatters onto the glass. I thought that was like, whoa, that was brutal. But you know what? That's the one person, and I really think that's why Reed Richards like kind of goes into his turmoil, is because the Thing is the one person who can talk Reed down. And I love that scene so much. And then you get to see like Sue Storm is the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. and she has like this badass scar across her face. And they team up with each other. These different versions of the Fantastic Four teams up with each other to defeat Doom. And then our Dr. Doom goes to defeat Doom as well. And then I love the ending, and which is why I say it's so classic Fantastic Four. We get to see Silver-downed Silver Surfer being asked by the Thing and Human Torch to help defeat Dr. Doom, and then Emma Frost is like with him, like out of everybody, like Emma being the person who ends up being in a relationship with Norrin, I thought was interesting. But yeah, really good issue, a lot of cool classic feel to Fantastic Four, but still delivering a lot of new stuff at the same time. Some gorgeous artwork here. I can't wait to see where this goes. So I gave this one 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Number 1 you watched my review, you probably knew already, but Runaways issue 8 literally has been my pick of the week every single time it's come out because I love this book and I gushed all over it with my in-depth review, so I won't go too much into detail like I did there, but damn, I love this book. I love Julie, I love Carolina, and what I really enjoyed here is that there's some really good action moments between Dr. Doom trying to get Victor's head. Then you have some really intriguing character plot progression with Molly getting this muffin slash cupcake from her best friend forever to literally be her best friend forever as a 13-year-old girl. This muffin will make her eternally a 13-year-old girl, and Molly at first is like, oh, I'm not gonna do that, and then as this issue goes on, Julie says, you know, I kind of wish I was an 11-year-old girl, still in a way, because life was easier back then and less complicated. And yeah, Molly just kind of sees things play out, and I think she really questions, should I do this or not? So that's really interesting. But then you just have the character dynamics between Julie and Carolina and seeing the kind of different worlds that they come from, where Julie is more of a trained hero, and she really treated her family as a superhero team as well, and Carolina, there's this really great moment where Carolina says, no, they're not my team, they're my family, and I love Julie just kind of, you know, looks at her and says, couldn't they be both? And I just love the way they kind of think differently here, and challenge their relationship in a lot of ways. Now going into the artwork, Chris Anka's art is electrifying. I mean, again, there's so many great action sequences, but so many just great small moments, like the small moment I was talking about with Julie, just some of the facial expressions he aces here. I just love the art. It's a perfect issue for me. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below all the books that you enjoyed and everything you read this week. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.